Ultimately, when it comes to the music of Halo, I have many opinions. I've made public that I'm not particularly fond of Halo 4 and 5 soundtracks, but not because I think they're bad. Many people tore Halo 4's soundtrack apart, many comparisons were made to Mass Effect with the heavier focus on sci-fi beeping and trancy synth stuff, which I can see and somewhat agree with. As well as the abandonment of the old Celtic / Eastern Orthodox / Catholic Christian style that the previous soundtracks went for, with the exception of ODST and Reach, which honestly felt a bit more Nordic in some of its compositions. I've heard the word generic thrown around, which, as I've said before, is a pretty bad term in my opinion to use when criticizing something because of how overused it's been to the point where it's pretty much lost all meaning. A better way to criticize Halo 4's soundtrack for you is to say, I do not like the Halo 4 soundtrack due to it not maintaining the style set up by Halo 3, the game that this is a sequel to. The style of music does not fit the identity the series had spent 10 years establishing for itself. I also do not personally enjoy it due to the heavier focus on electronic and less natural sounds, which I am personally not a fan of. These are my views. They are not facts, just my opinion. Music is entirely preference. I actually know somebody who thinks that Halo 4 soundtrack is a step up because he doesn't like orchestral crap, in his words. Now, when it comes to my personal dislike of Halo 4 and 5 soundtracks, I want to express my views, which, by the way, are positive in nature and not dismissive of 343's hard work. So before we begin this, remember this is more of an opinion piece than a deep analysis, alright? These are just my personal opinions, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys think, so leave all of your questions in the comment section below so that I can read them. Remember, try to be respectful with each other. Try to be open to other people's opinions, and just overall, try not to be an ass to each other. Alright, let's begin. When setting up a series, one thing is important: making sure it won't get lost in a sea of other series. This is why you see many new properties get swallowed up and forgotten in the gaming market when they attempt to mimic the competition. They forget to make themselves unique, and so they blend in and are easily overlooked despite the actual quality of the product. Is this the case for why every game will undersell? No. In some cases, a game can be quite literally beautiful in execution, but other factors can cause its downfall. In the case of Halo, Halo is known, in my opinion, for 4 things: its multiplayer, its excellent campaign design, its art, and its music. The original trilogy burst through the gaming scene with each iteration saying, "Look at me, this is what I sound like! Da 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 da, da 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 da, da 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 da, da 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 da, da 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 da." And people are like, hey, it's Halo, because that's the identity that Halo set up. Even to this day, there aren't many shooter games that have music quite as striking as the original trilogy. The original trilogy's music is still very unique and can stand out in a crowd of other shooters. Halo's use of monastic choirs, pianos, that are even used in certain action sequences are still recognized as very unique and different when compared to other first-person shooter soundtracks. Now, another thing to mention is Bungie very much told big epic stories with arguably pretty shallow characters when you sit back, forget the lore, and focus on their presentation in-game. Is a shallow character bad? No, because in this case Bungie wasn't trying to have deep, complex characters. The point of Johnson isn't for the player to sit down and analyze the complex psyche of a lone soldier and why he smiles while holding back tears. It's for him to be hilarious and badass. The music worked because it was big in scale. It was epic. The music very much helped the tone of the original trilogy's story, as well as the identity of the series being, this is a game that's big in scope and will have very religious themes and an otherworldly, detached feeling as if this gritty war is taking place in some otherworldly, heavenly fantasy. Bungie had a goal, they achieved it, and Halo's music was cemented as part of the Halo package. When it came to Halo 4, 343 had different ideas. 343 aimed to move away from the otherworldly, detached feeling of Bungie games and tell a more character-focused story with more grounded characters as opposed to the cartoons of Bungie's Halos. Now big, epic, detached, haunting, angelic, fluid, and distant music won't exactly work well when telling an intimate, very grounded personal story, so 343 focused on composing a very intimate soundtrack. The instruments are noticeably more clear and sharper, as the focus was to make them feel more like they are here and now with you, as opposed to beautiful melodies in the distant stars, like Bungie's music. Halo 4's soundtrack, in my opinion, was quite good. Was it Halo? Well, I'll get into that later, but I do think that it was objectively good music. The music hit all the right notes, the emotional elements were there, the fan favorite 117 was sprinkled all throughout the soundtrack whenever you enter UNSC territory. And then when it comes to the Forerunner stuff, there are more terrifying, foreboding, creepy, digitalized chanting, and they're usually accompanied with Prometheans, symbolically showing that they are in fact fake and digital. They are horrifying monsters not of natural origin, kind of like the music being very much not of natural origin and made by a computer. Just something to think about. The Covenant traditionally had more orchestral stuff whenever you encountered them. In my opinion, though, a lot of the Covenant music doesn't work too well in Halo 4, and not because it's bad, but it's just due to how safe the melodies are. They don't really try to break the mold and really stand out. They just they sit in the background and they play it safe, which isn't bad, it's not very inventive. Halo 4's music is, as I said, objectively good. The quality is excellent. The mood is set and paced very well due to the deliberate pacing of certain stingers. Now, unlike the original trilogy, which set the overall tone of the war and conflict and made you feel like a small speck of dust in this war in the heavens, Halo 4's music pushed you forward and felt very much like it was right behind you in the moment. It was there as you were feeling these emotions. And the tone 343 wanted was achieved. The consistency is there in the melodies and presentation, although there are a few jarring moments that do stand out in the soundtrack. Now, the issue that I have with the music isn't about the quality of the music itself. It's more about the choice to compose Halo's music differently. Halo had spent 10 years establishing the identity of its music in gaming culture in order to stand out, and so Halo was known for a very specific type of music. And while the Halo 4 music is beautiful, Halo 4's music doesn't quite stand out in gaming due to it sounding a bit more traditional as a sci-fi soundtrack. Well, the original trilogy certainly wasn't traditional when compared to other sci-fi. Because of this, I can understand the complaints that Halo 4's music will not age well or be remembered, because in a market where the identity of a product is key, Halo 4's music chose to have a more safe and more traditional sound to it, and so it became a little bit more faded because of it. In Halo 5, there was a noticeable attempt to fix many of the issues that people had with Halo 4's music, mostly focusing more on the orchestral stuff and less on the electronic-y music. Now, similar to Halo 4, there is a sample that's reused many times throughout the soundtrack. For Chief, it's more 117. For Locke, it's the... with a heavy focus on brass and horns. Again, most of the music in the Halo 5 soundtrack is very high quality music, and one level in particular, Blue Team, had a very good sense of what Halo games traditionally sound like, with the way it incorporated elements of Halo 2's soundtrack, and was able to use them as a launching pad to create original, unique melodies that sound very Halo-esque in the background. Locke's stuff, on the other hand, sadly does not stick out as anything remarkable. It's more so, in my opinion, just an inability to properly lock down what they want Locke's soundtracks to sound like, and because of this, aimless feeling to some of Locke's music, a lot of the action music in this game, it's just safe and very repetitive tracks that are used over and over again, no matter what planet or situation you're on, so it kind of makes the soundtrack feel very aimless and very repetitive and formulaic. Halo 5 has great music when listened to on its own, but in-game, the incorporation of the music was not very good in my opinion. Tracks seem to be just kind of copy and pasted into the levels without much effort into making them blend seamlessly together to create one continuous atmosphere. In Halo 3, Marty spoke about how he composed his soundtrack in layers, and depending on certain situational things, the game would add or remove layers, so that the tracks never just stopped awkwardly and then loaded the next piece of music. I'm sure that, Halo 5 does this because there are some areas where the music does a very good job of being consistent and smoothly transitioning and not breaking the atmosphere.
Halsey called us.
She said there was something big happening, and gave Captain Lasky coordinates to find her.
It must be something big.
One hell of a trap.
Contact. Prometheus, all sides.
We could push right up the middle. That would be rough. Might want to consider flanking them.
Move smart.
But then there are some levels where the soundtrack has these awkward, out-of-place moments because they seem to have just overlaid the unedited track into the level and set it on a loop and not removed some of the quieter moments, even though it would kind of feel a little bit awkward if the soundtrack was quiet at this moment. Either that, or just flat out don't play anything at all. In Halo 5's case, I think it's less of the score itself being boring, and more so the failure to weave the score into the game properly. The Star Wars moment in Halo 4, there are a lot of moments like that in Halo 5 where the choice of music is bizarre, because it doesn't really match the action well, or it's just oddly out of place.
Long way from nowhere, then.
We've been watching this location for a reason. Search ahead.
Console lit up as I approached. What was that? It came from the console.
How many years has it been since we used that signal?
Cortana. She's out there somewhere.
Chief, back on Meridian. There was a lot of destruction. There were civilians.
I know.
She may not have known what would happen. Accessing that console activated that large structure. Given the signal we heard, you think she's over there?
Possible.
Promised by the prophets.
Sounds like an elite. The hell are the Covenant doing here?
Ready up. All clear.
What are the Covenant doing here? They seem confused.
Now imagine if the choir was a little bit more subdued and a little bit more trance-like and mesmerizing. Here, watch this. I'm going to try to edit this scene, and I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Search ahead. Console lit up as I approached.
What was that? It came from the console.
How many years has it been since we used that signal?
Cortana. Cortana, do you read?
No response. What is this place? Forerunner planet. Beyond that, who knows?
Wherever we are, Cortana brought us here. She's out there somewhere.
Chief, back on Meridian. There was a lot of destruction. There were civilians.
I know.
She may not have known what would happen. And if she did,
We'll learn what's going on once we find her.
this place is incredible.
Gives me the creeps.
Bio readings are unlike anything we've previously recorded. There's a formalness and precision to it all. It seems artificial, but still organic. Halsey would have already started taking samples.
She'd have probably figured out the exact coordinates of this planet by now.
Accessing that console activated that large structure. Given the signal we heard, you think she's over there?
Possible.
Sounds like an elite. What the hell are the Covenant doing here?
Ready up, Blue Team. All clear.
What are the Covenant doing here? They seem confused. I don't think they've been here long.
More hostiles. Ready up.
In hindsight, there are a few things that they could have done to make people a little bit more accepting of Halo 4's choice to ditch Halo's traditional music style if they truly needed to. Starting Halo 4 off on the Forward Unto Dawn with Master Chief in his old armor would have gone a long way. Could you imagine using Halo 3 era weapons and maintaining the Halo 3 style of music, using a lot of the old classical tracks as he explores Requiem, but then as he begins to start seeing new stuff like the Prometheans, you start noticing that the music starts to become a little bit more alien, a little bit more new. The visuals also begin transitioning to the new art style as we get closer to Requiem's core and the Didax Cryptum, with the music becoming even more like Halo 4, until finally, when Chief meets the crew of the UNSC Infinity, the music is full-out new stuff. Chief is given a new set of armor, and the art style from here on out is Halo 4's new art style accompanied by Halo 4's new music style. A transition to the new stuff would have helped ease players in. For the main menu music of Halo 4, I honestly think it's quite good. I love it, in fact. I don't really understand the hatred for it because I think the singing is actually quite beautiful. The idea being is it's supposed to sound very, very, very reminiscent of the old Halo, but this is new. This is more lonely. Chief is alone. He's isolated on this world. It's very sad, and as the music keeps going, you notice that it starts becoming bigger and bigger in scope and more emotional, which is symbolic of Requiem itself opening up, but also internally, Master Chief's humanity beginning to wake up. Now, some people won't see that. They'll just think it's stupid that they're changing the Halo theme. So could you imagine that maybe if you first booted up the Halo 4 main menu, it had the traditional Halo theme, but after you beat the campaign, then it switches to this new stuff, symbolizing the player's transition into the new age of Halo. Now, some people will say that Marty is a god and can't ever be topped or rivaled, which I disagree with. Halo Wars 1 followed the ground rules for Halo's music style, but created new melodies that you could show to people and they would say, you know, that sounds kind of like Halo, because it followed the rules of what Halo should probably sound like. Halo Spartan Assault by Tom Salta is one of my favorite tracks in the series and easily outclasses Marty's work in a few areas in my opinion. With Halo 6, what I'm hoping for is more of a focus on the mesmerizing choirs and making the music seem a bit more dreamlike with haunting pianos in combat or with angelic chanting shrouding the war zones. While the intimate music is quite good, some of the more action-focused and atmospheric tracks rarely hold up, and it ends up feeling very predictable because it sounds so similar in melody to other shooters or action movies. Could you imagine if some of the fights used more traditional Halo-esque music in Halo 4 or 5? And not just similar composition style, but using variations on classic tracks.
Covenant seem to think it should belong to them.
Break through their line.
The argument that I've seen in response to this is, they can't rehash the old tracks forever, and I agree, absolutely, that's not what I'm saying. Maintaining a similar melody, and in some cases, just going ahead and touching into familiar pieces of music can go a long way with connecting to the players and reminding them that this is Halo. Star Wars Episode 7 didn't decide to throw away the Star Wars theme, and going back to Tom Salta in Spartan Assault, he didn't throw out the music style of Halo in order to try something new. He embraced it. He took the blueprint for Halo's old music style and created music that fit so damn well into the Halo universe and recaptured that ascending, otherworldly war in the heavens and against the beautiful stars themselves vibe that Halo used to have. Overall, it's just personal preference. I personally feel that this is what has been missing from Halo soundtracks for a while now, and ultimately, I just wanted to condense all of my thoughts into one nice little video and present the theory as to what I think has been missing from Halo's music for a while now, why people can't seem to enjoy the new soundtracks, and that's not to say that everybody dislikes the new soundtracks, but there are a vocal community of people that do feel something has been missing from Halo soundtracks for quite a while now, and hopefully this is what it is that's been missing. And so I want to hear all of your thoughts in the comment section below, and remember guys, when you share these videos around on Reddit or Waypoint or Twitter or whatever, please be respectful. Remember, be open to discussion, be very welcoming of other people's opinions, and be open to engaging in a nice civilized conversation and address your points clearly and in a non-confrontational manner. And ultimately, guys, just thank you so much for enjoying these videos, sharing them around, liking them, giving me your feedback in the comments section, and providing proof that this community is not as toxic as we like to joke about. But ultimately, guys, just thank you for enjoying the video, and I'll see you all on the next video.